Yep, I'm old. I got
Dave's old.
so Chris has been sick for 5 weeks now.
I got
He's
one lung,
You're getting better, right?
and Dave's got one knee.
And I got one knee. So we're both getting old. So I went the other day to the doctor and I was just telling Chris before the podcast started. I got right knee pain, which it's not preventing me from doing anything, but being that I'm still young, I gotta walk on
No,
this bad boy for the rest of my life. I wanted to go get checked, and
old and gray.
yeah, old and gray. They started with an X-ray, and now I got to follow up with an orthopedic, and then I had something going on with my shin. They did an ultrasound there, that came back normal. So I'm just going to contribute to old age.
He's old.
And your new name, I have a new name for you,
I don't even want to hear it.
Mister One Lung.
Mr. Lung.
Yep. And
Wang
this was
Chung, one
Wang
lung.
Chung. And actually, so we were just discussing the topic of this podcast, and
Yeah.
since Chris has one lung,
Mhm.
this is going to be funny, but since Chris has one lung, we're going to talk about shot placement on deer and
Woo!
one lung in deer.
Yeah.
But I just remembered something that there's going to be a two-part to this. So we'll split it in half. I forgot all about this. Had a guy message me. He wants us to cover something, and I haven't
Okay.
told Chris what it is yet. So let's cover, shot placement and distance and stuff for the
Okay.
first, 15 minutes, and then we'll finish up the last 15 with the topic that uh, he wants us to cover, and
All right.
I'll let you know what that is on the second part of this.
Okay.
So since you have one lung
Yeah.
and you're distressed and weak and tired and old, and you actually are clean shaved tonight, so I can't say gray, but why don't you discuss a little bit about what shots that you will take or won't take,
Yeah.
and then that your preferred shot distance, and
Sure.
I'll explain what I'll do.
Sure. I when I practice with my bow, I practice within 35 yards. Just because I am very disciplined like that. I will not shoot over like 25 yards at a deer normally, but I like to practice out to 35. So I go out, I get the rangefinder, put it on the target, mark it off, set my pins, shoot, 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 practice, practice, and that's what I like to do. Sometimes I will set up a ladder stand in the yard or something and get that angle shot and make sure that I'm on that way. I used to get a ladder, get up on the roof of the house and shoot down into the yard. Yeah, the wife was like, "Yeah, you're nuts," but that makes it realistic. And I have shot clean through deer before, one lunged them, and they will run for eternity. It seems, especially if you push them. So back out and go back. Um, as far as angles that I like, obviously quartering away. Everybody's going to say that. But I like dead broadside, just 90-degree broadside. I just love that shot because you can hardly mess that shot up unless you totally blow it somehow. Either you hit your arm, your string catches your sleeve maybe. Um you don't have your eye in the peep, you don't have your nose on on the button or the string, or you know you could blow it doing silly stuff and not even realize it.
Hmm.
um but I like that shot. Even if you go in the shoulder blade, you can still punch through and kill that animal. um even if you shoot too far back, if you liver shoot that deer, you can still harvest that animal. The
Hmm.
the key is not pushing these animals.
Yep.
Once you shoot them, let them go and have their peace and die. Um, unless you see it drop or something, you know. But if you're trailing a deer and it goes over 100 yards, you ought to just back off. You know, 100 yards is a long. If you double long a deer, it should expire within 100 yards with a broadhead. Um, but if you get over 100, I would say back out for a couple hours at least, or if you can manage it, come back in the morning.
Hmm.
But I like the dead broadside shot. I like the quartering away. I've taken quartering two shots before, but they can't be steep. I don't like steep quartering, and I never take a frontal shot or straight away or anything like that. That's You're just asking for trouble. Too much can happen, you know, in that distance. Especially the further out you shoot an animal, so much more can happen. Um, the dreaded ducking of the deer, you know, that everybody talks about, it is real. I mean, they literally can duck a foot in like a second. But the key to that also is shooting an animal with its head up. If you shoot while the animal's head is down, it's proven that they can just drop straight down. There's something to that muscle, you know, with the muscles with their head up. It's proven that when their head's up, they have a harder time dropping down. They have to drop their head down to get their body in motion to fall, to duck an arrow. So there's just a small tip too. I would stick to that. Now some might argue that, I don't know, but I found it to be true. Um, a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't want alert. I don't want the deer on alert." But well, if it's there, you know, wait till it raises its head, and then you know they won't do that dreaded drop, duck, duck the arrow. Everybody says, "Oh, he ducked the arrow. I missed him, or I hit him high, or something." You know, well, they probably shot at it when its head was down. You know, they can drop so much faster when their head's down.
Hmm.
So that's some of the things that I like. You got anything different?
Yeah. So, um, I would say my furthest shot that I will shoot at a deer, it's got to be clear line of sight. Completely broadside. I'll do 30 yards.
Hmm.
Maybe I'll push the limit to 35. If it's if I'm feeling risky or something, but
Right.
just a lot of stuff can go wrong
Yeah.
beyond that distance. Obviously, everybody should know that the perfect distance is within 20 yards.
Yeah.
So you should be setting up your stands and stuff to hope in hopes of getting something within 20 yards. Doesn't always work that way. They might go out 25, 30, 35, but if you got a clear view of that animal and it's completely broadside, I think 35 yards in some cases is perfectly fine as long as you're capable of doing it.
Right.
Um, that's my preferred distance. Obviously, I like that 20-yard shot, but
Yeah.
um, practice wise, the most I shoot out to is about 40. I'll
Hmm.
shoot out to 40 yards. Most times I'm just shooting at 30.
Mm.
Um, and then I'll go to 20 and the 40. That's pretty much my distance where I practice at. I'll never. I mean, it could be the biggest buck in the world. I'm not shoot. I'm not shooting at 50, 60,
No,
60 yards. I mean,
no, that's
it's just
disrespectful to the animal, I think, because you
well,
have no clue what's going to happen.
yeah, it is. It can be. But I just don't feel confident or comfortable doing that, so I'm not going to do it.
I
Can
mean,
it
I've
happen?
seen it done. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah, it can
it
happen
could
for
happen.
sure.
It could
People
happen.
do it all the time, but it's funny. I always tell this story is I'll see guys with their bows or something, and years ago when I used to hunt at outfitters and stuff, I see guys and they have like 5 or 6 different pins on their bow, and we end up getting to talking. I'm like, hey, what's all them pins for? He's like, oh, I got 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. I'm like, oh, how many deer have you killed out to 50 yards? And he's like, none. I was like, well, how many deer have you shot at 50 yards? He's like, well, a lot, but I missed. So you have all these pins, but you shot at deer at 50, 60, 70 yards, but you're not hitting them.
Right.
So that's a problem, you know. because you're going to end up wounding them. It can be done. People do it. People kill them at 100 yards, but on a whitetail, it's too risky.
Yeah.
Now
I've hunted a lot with one pin.
I have 2 pins, 20 and 30.
Yeah.
That's it. It's been that way for
I
10
used to
years.
just be so disciplined that if it wasn't under 20,
Hmm.
well, I could use my single pin at the 25 or 26 yards,
Yeah,
but I didn't even do that. If it wasn't under 20 for the longest time, I wouldn't even shoot.
yeah, yeah. I got 2 pins on this bow.
I mean,
Um,
that's the thrill of archery hunting. I want them
yeah,
close,
right. Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I don't want to say, "Hey, well, yeah, I shot him at 43 yards." I don't
Hmm.
even want to say that,
Right.
you know.
As far as my shot placement, 100% broadside, 20-yard broadside, your perfect shot right behind the shoulder.
Love
Always
it.
aim a little bit lower, because they like Chris said, they will duck. So always aim for that heart, and if they duck, you always get it in the double lung there.
Right?
Um, you mess up sometimes. It's not always perfect, but that's my shot. Now I fell in love with the quartered away shot. I've killed a lot of deer quartered away. But the trick with that is 25 years ago, I was watching when I was a kid growing up, getting into bow hunting. I watched the old Roger Ragland videos,
I know what you're gonna say.
and there's a clip on there. He shot a deer, was quartered away, and he explains why, where you have to shoot it. You have to aim behind the last rib, so it penetrates up in there. If you shoot them quartered away into the rib cage, it can deflect, and
Yeah,
lodge up into their shoulder.
yeah.
And before that, I had shot a deer quartered away and I lost it.
Mm,
And then like a year later, I watched,
yeah,
Roger explain it, and then it made sense. Well, my last velvet buck that I shot, it was hard quartered. It was 30 yards, hard quartered, and I put it. I mean, you're going to shoot it through the guts,
yeah.
but
You can't.
it's a deadly shot.
Sure.
Right behind that last rib, bam! It ran 40 yards dead.
Yeah.
So,
Aim at the far side leg.
yep. So
Yeah,
that is a
that's
very
a good
deadly shot.
reference point. Yep,
Hmm.
for
Deadly
sure.
shot.
Yeah,
Um,
I shot a bear like that.
Quartered away.
That bear. It's up there behind me.
Hmm.
I shot that quartering away behind the last rib, and
Yep.
it came out in the armpit, the opposite side.
Hmm.
That bear was dead in 35 yards and rolled down a big hill.
You shot it with a compound.
Yep, shot the bow's in the picture there. Shot it with an old
Oh yeah.
PSE 3D
Yep.
Dominator with a uh, 3 blade expandable.
And it came out.
Well, it hit the far shoulder, and the arrow bounced back, but it was you know
Hmm.
it went through both sides, and the arrow, when the bear went to turn and run off, the arrow came back out the hole that it went
Gotcha.
in 2 pieces. But I
Yeah.
had an entrance and exit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great shot. Deadly shot
Hmm.
for sure. Because
Yeah.
I mean, you're plowing that arrow right up into, you're punching through the
Yeah. You're
diaphragm.
getting diaphragm,
Um,
lungs, heart,
Everything.
possibly,
So
maybe
you
even a liver on the way in.
yeah, depending
You
on
know,
the, I guess, the
it's
angle or whatever. But yeah.
definitely deadly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Um, but that's my 2 preferred shots. Now,
for
I
sure.
did shoot one facing me. I
I've
did it.
never done that.
It was about 15 years ago, and I tried it, and I shot it right through the brisket, and it died within 50 yards. But I
Huh.
was dead. I was dead center.
Hmm.
Dead center. It went up. I mean, it was dead. Um,
I did it
will
with
I?
muzzleloader before.
Yeah. Would I do it with again? Would again? Probably not. I mean, it's a very risky shot,
Yeah.
but it's also, if you're placed right, it's a very deadly shot. But I think the risk outweighs the cons outweighs the
Yeah,
pros for it.
my buddy did that one time, and he said, "Oh yeah, I right on center. I hit we we tracked that thing forever, and it was just bright, rich blood.
Hmm.
I mean, really dark, rich, and
Never found
we
it.
never found it. Never found it.
Yep. It's a risky.
That thing was up hills, down hills. It was like it was just going like it wasn't even hit, you know.
Hmm.
And I said, we got to give up.
Yeah. Um,
And then I
my next.
slipped in bear poop and got it all over my pants.
Nice. Lucky you. Um, my last part to this, and then we'll move on to the next topic. Is the giving the deer time, like you said. Obviously, if you see it go down, I mean, go get your deer. But if I don't see it go down, I'm waiting. If I don't see that thing go
Yeah.
down, um, I'm pretty much waiting. Or if you see it hightail away and then start walking, that's not really good. So you got to give it time, because if that deer is going to die, within your sight, it's going to run, it's going to stop, and then it's going to die. It's going to crash, wobble, fall over. But if that deer slowly starts walking away, it's injured, but you got to give it time. I mean, you probably maybe hit one lung, liver shot, something like that. But if I don't see it go down, I'm waiting at least an hour, 2 hours, something like that. Then I'll get down, or I'll get down right away and go walk out the opposite way or something, and come back in an hour or two, check the arrow, start getting a feel for what's going on. But
Yeah.
those one lung shots, I remember long time ago. I was a kid, and a friend of mine shot one lung, and we didn't know, but we waited about an hour, and man, we started tracking this thing. Man, it was bleeding like a stuck pig. And
Mm-hmm.
this thing, we followed blood the entire time for about 400 yards,
Mm-hmm.
and it finally we found it piled up. So
Yeah.
one lung will die if you don't push it.
Yeah.
Um, it'll run, it'll just lay there, and it'll die, as long as it's not spooked, But that
Yeah.
does
It can
happen.
be fatal.
Yeah, one lung like you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've had my share of those when I was a young hunter, and
Hmm.
I used to let them get too close, and I would be standing on the edge of my stand, basically pointing straight down, and I would shoot, and it would go right beside the spinal cord and get one lung. And
Hmm.
like you said, I I would go home, put my stuff at camp, and I'd go back out looking for it, and
And cry.
it follow blood forever.
Hmm.
And there was a couple that I didn't find, and
Yep.
then I thought to myself, this is nuts. I got to start. I literally used to. I fixed that problem by watching them walk by
Hmm.
and letting them get away, so that I had that quarter away shot, and then I would shoot them.
Yeah.
You know, and I had a buddy in a tree stand next, a couple trees away, and he's looking at me like, "Why didn't you shoot that?" And I'm like, "Hold on a second, and then I pull back and give it to him. And he's like, "I thought you was gonna let that thing walk by." I said, "Well, I literally did let it walk by me because in the past I learned my lesson that I don't shoot straight down anymore.
Hmm.
I don't take that risk. That angle is too great,
Right.
and it's just too easy to lose a deer or track it all night long. And I don't like being in the woods all night long with a
Hmm.
flashlight running
Yeah.
out of batteries. That's no
Right.
fun for anybody, you
Hmm.
know. So
Uh,
take your
10 sec
time.
10
Yep.
second explanation. What broadheads are you shooting now?
Oh, I have the
7
like
seconds.
siphons from
4 seconds.
siphons.
Siphons?
Yeah, what are they? Who makes them?
No clue.
Uh,
You don't even know.
who made mini blasters? What was that company's name? I
Never heard of him.
can't believe I can't think of it.
This guy is old, man. Pitiful.
Blasters, mini blasters.
He's got half a brain right now.
Hold
One lung.
on. Hold on.
Oh man. While he's going to look for that, um, I shoot the 2-inch Swackers.
Rockets, man. Rockets.
Oh, okay. Rockets.
Yeah,
All
rocket
right.
siphons.
I was just
Yeah.
telling them when you walked away, I'm shooting the 2-inch Swackers.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
my
I mean,
broadhead.
I shot Schwackers a little while,
Hmm.
and uh, I,
I
I
think I'm
just
on.
I have issues. We should have a broadhead. We should have a broadhead podcast too, and I could tell issues with all the broadheads I've used over the years.
Hmm.
But as far as the rockets go, I've been using rockets forever. I
The
killed that bear.
only.
I killed that bear with a rocket.
Yep.
And believe it or not, that buck that may have been a rage. And I'm not like the biggest rage advocate.
I'm going to unfriend you for saying that.
Well,
You shot a rage.
that's just it. My brother-in-law got me a pack of broadheads one year for Christmas, and they were rage. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna try them because I've heard nothing but bad about them. People complaining about them. I have no complaints about them. That particular one. Nowadays they got shock collars and all this stupid crap. I don't know about the modern ones, but these were like a really old brand of the Rage.
Well,
And
maybe everybody in the comments, podcast or YouTube, they'll
yeah, maybe
shoot it.
they know something about these Rages
Well,
because
no, I was going to say, shoot us a comment. Let us know what broadhead you're shooting.
oh, sure. But yeah, these ones were the old chisel tip.
Hmm.
Or I'm sorry, not chisel tip, cut on contact tip. They had a blade the opposite way of the ones that expanded out.
Hmm.
So it was like a fixed blade. So, and that was one of the complaints I heard in the past. People saying, "Oh, they didn't even open up." And well, if this thing didn't open up, you still had like a 7/8 cut on the front of this thing, you know.
Yep.
And they fly like darts, man. I didn't have a problem with them. I don't know. Now, I mean, there's broadhead tests out there where people do. Like I said, we should do a whole podcast on broadheads.
All right.
We could
Well,
we
moving
could
on to the
we could stir it up.
moving on to the next topic.
What is
A
the
four
next topic?
4 minute explanation
Oh, geez.
a piece. The guy, I can't remember who it was, but they wanted us to explain
Hmm.
at what age did we start deer hunting,
Okay.
who influenced us to deer hunt,
Oh, this is
who
cool.
and who did we learn from? Family member, TV guy back in the VHS tape. Who did we
Okay.
learn from? What age did we start, and who kind of influenced you to get into deer hunting?
All
So
right.
go.
Okay. Obviously, I grew up in a city, hence the name. Um, so there wasn't a lot of hunting for me at a young age. Like nowadays, these kids are starting at 5, 6, 7. I didn't do that. Dad said, if you want to hunt, you take the hunter's education course. If you pass, I'll take you hunting. So we reserved a spot, took the course, passed. First thing we did is got the old 20 gauge single shot out. We shot a half a box of those things.
What
Went out
age?
went out squirrel hunting at age 12 because that's what it
Okay.
is in PA. So I took the test at 11 and a half and went and got my license and was able to hunt at 12. Um, so I squirrel hunted, and evidently, like I said, it's obvious that my dad was my influence at the point in time because he was a huge small game hunter. He is not actually a big game hunter per se. Like he likes to shoot a deer, but as far as racks go, my dad has only ever shot a couple of rack bucks. And he would go out and he would shoot a doe and butcher that baby up, and that's what we ate. So, but he wasn't a huge deer hunter. He was more small game. So he was the influence there.
He's on
Now,
TV.
yeah, he is. So as far as that goes, though, who I learned from, because obviously I'm the deer hunter of the family, I did not learn from my father because my father didn't archery hunt or nothing. Well, that's my passion is archery. So you ask, how did I get into this? Well, um, I wanted to try a bow, and Dad had an old Fred Bear recurve, and he had the old razor tips and all that jazz. And I took that thing out in the yard and was zinging arrows all the time, and I loved it. And graduate. I actually shot a deer with it the first time I took it out, and then I was hooked, of course. So then I went out and bought a compound bow. You know, the rest is pretty much history. But as far as learning from people, I was one of these kids that I didn't play a lot of school sports. So I had a job. I had a paper route since I was age 8. So I always had money. So I I was buying all these subscriptions to Deer and Deer Hunting and all these, Bow Hunter magazine and all. I used to sit and read magazines cover to cover. You know, it was just nuts. Um, but yeah, I could say that I learned a lot from reading magazines. And then when I was a youngster, and, and uh, cable television came out, well, then there was stuff on ESPN and TBN, Turner Broadcasting Network, that on Saturdays they used to have hunting shows on, you know, and I could catch stuff like that. But back then, like you said, it was like Roger Ragland, and guys like that that's been in the industry for 40 years.
Monster
You know,
bucks back in the day.
yeah, you had Real Tree Outdoors and stuff
White
like that.
Yeah,
Bill Jordan,
Whitetail
yeah,
Institute magazines
yeah.
when
I
Food
mean,
Plots came out.
that's how I learned. It was a lot of self teaching and just going and doing it,
Okay.
and it's progressed to this.
So my quick story is I guess I was about 12 when I got the itch to start deer hunting because my uncle was big into bow hunting, and I remember being, a kid. He would, every time he would shoot a deer, he would always come over um to the house, and show everybody what he shot. So then I got a bow. I was a PSE Nova when I was 13, I believe. I was shooting, and then um, my dad hated deer hunting. I think he went deer hunting twice, and he took me when I was younger, like 12 and 13. We'd go squirrel hunting and stuff like that, and then he would take me bow hunting, but he hated it. But he would take me. I'd wake him up. He'd banging on his door at 3 a.m. Dad, let's go. Time to go deer hunting. And he would take me bow hunting. And I shot my first deer with a bow when I was 14. And then I got into shotgun and muzzleloader and all that. And I back then I used to hunt it with my uncle and all that. And then when I was able to drive, started hunting with some friends and things after school and all that. And I did learn a lot at a young age from my uncle scouting. He did teach me, looking for browse, where they're browsing at and all that. How to deer trails and all that good stuff. But as I've progressed, I feel like in the past 10 years I've learned a lot, a lot about deer hunting in the past 10 years. And but I mean I knew a fair amount up to that point, but um, the Roger Ragland videos really kind of opened up a lot of my eyes too, because he had actually in, informative videos. It wasn't just about hunting with
Wasn't just
outfitter.
entertaining.
No, it wasn't going to outfitters, like a lot of these videos and TV shows are now. This was actually him on public lands killing these bucks and stuff. And he would teach you scouting. You know, Back then it was always his tapes were, look for droppings. Where there's droppings, they're spending a lot of their time because what's a deer do? It eats and poops. So typically where there's a lot of droppings, they're feeding close by. So that's the basics of scouting. So that's where I learned a lot of that from. Um, Nowadays, I mean, it's all really just the really only person that I ever really watch nowadays is Grant Woods. I watch a lot of his videos, but as far as learning from somebody anymore, it's really, you know, it's just being out there experience wise now, seeing a lot of clients' properties and things. You learn a lot from there because you get to see different layouts of lands and things like that. But that's pretty much my story. When I was 13, my mom took me to the hunter safety class, and she would sit with me. My dad took me. It was like they both took me a little bit, but um, I remember we signed up for it, and it's funny. Back then we didn't have GPS, so she drove me and my sister to the class, and she had no idea where she was going. And we pulled up to this building, and it was apparently it was a bar. And she walks in, she goes, "I'm here for the hunter safety class." And they're like, "Hon, you're in a bar. Like, you're in the wrong place." So she walks into this building thinking it's where the hunter safety class is, and it was a freaking bar. Uh, so it was like around the other side. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, my parents were they took me to the class. My dad he got up 3 a.m. with me, took me hunting, and then he was never into hunting really. I
Yeah.
mean, he was never really into it, but that's kind of my journey and story.
Yeah. No, Dad, like I said, my father, he Thanksgiving weekend we'd shoot the guns and then we'd go out and hunt on Monday, you know.
The traditional Monday.
Traditional Monday everybody's crying about.
Yep.
But I forgot that I did forget to mention to answer one of the questions. You said at what age? I never I never killed a deer till I was 17
Mm.
because like I said, I small game hunted, and then when I was old enough to buy my car and pay my own insurance and everything, and I started driving, um, I would drive up to camp here, and that's when I picked up the recurve at age 17 there and started practicing with it, and just went out and started killing a couple of deer, and I was hooked.
Hmm.
So yeah, it wasn't until I was 17. Like I said, living in the city's hard on hunting. You know,
Okay. Well, I
I
was
mean,
14 when I killed my first deer with a bow, and then also 14 when I killed my first deer with a shotgun, which was this buck right here. Um, so I killed my first two deer when I was 14.
yeah. Well, Dad's my first real gun. Dad bought me a 30-30 because in PA you can use a rifle in
Mm.
most areas. He bought me a 30-30 and it didn't have a scope on it or anything, and I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. So I purchased a mounting kit to put a scope on a 30-30 lever action,
Yep.
and then the rest was history, man. It was just crazy. After that, I was slaying them.
Yeah.
But
Mine was
open sight,
a
no good.
junior 20 gauge
Mm,
Remington junior 20
yeah,
open sights when I shot this buck here.
couldn't hit
Um,
nothing.
nah, it was tough, but yeah,
Huh.
I guess that wraps it up for this episode
Episode
90.
90.
Pretty
90.
soon here we're going to be wrapping up season 2, and we're going to have what 102 104 episodes.
We'll have a bunch. We're gonna have
104.
to. We'll have to do an hour-long Christmas podcast or something.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and I
So,
think in 2 to 3 weeks we got 2 guests coming on you don't know about.
oh yeah,
Yep. So I think 2, 3 weeks are coming on. So we'll have another. Everybody don't have to look at our ugly faces. In 2 to 3 weeks, you'll have somebody else on here to look at.
okay, sounds good.
What What's your thought about this? Somebody brought it up real quick, but getting listeners on the podcast. What's
I
your thought about
mean,
that?
uh, I had a couple people ask if they could be on it already.
Just like an audio, just their audio.
Oh,
What do you think about that?
hmm, I don't, I don't have a problem with it as long as we have a subject.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not going to.
I don't want someone just coming on and rambling,
No, 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 no.
like we do.
Nah, it'll be
Can't have
a
three people rambling.
right. It'll be a specific topic that they
Yeah,
come
we'll have,
on for, like, I don't know, 5, 10 minutes or something, and
yeah.
then yeah, because I had somebody suggested. They're like, hey, you guys should bring on like some of your listeners and stuff, and have them come on for, I don't know, if somebody's got experience with a certain broadhead or a certain area of hunting, whether they're hunting on the East Coast or Midwest or down in the South. I don't know,
Yeah.
just bring them on. Maybe we'll think about it.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
It's
podcast 90.
That's subject dependent.
Yep. Podcast 90. I'm going to bed early because I am deer hunting all day tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. I'm taking Dad to the Union picnic.
All right. Well, I'll be looking for
Be back in the city tomorrow.
I'll be looking for Buck Henry, and you'll be in the city.
Yep.
All right.
I'll be eating picnic food.
All right. Podcast 90.
See you, folks.